well. And he
I
talks
am.
about the fact that a lot of this type of technology, it exists already,
Hmm.
and it could transform the world, but there's, powers in place that really are not wanting to release it because it's not in their political or their economic interest to do so. But think about how that could transform our world if we could get around by means like that. That would really change everything. It would end a lot of the suffering in our world, I think, just that one thing. And there's so many things like that out there that I think are probably happening, behind the scenes that we're just not being allowed to see. But I'm with you. I think that has absolutely happened, and I think faster than light travel has been, if not achieved. I think we at least have an idea of how that is done, and yet we still hear a lot of the scientific talking heads, the Neil deGrasse Tyson's, people like that out in the media, kind of chuckling when anyone talks about faster than light travel, like that's an impossibility, and it's not. I mean, those are things that I think, like you're talking about, people are really working on, and probably we're a lot further along than we think we are.
Well, I was stunned. I had no idea that this was in place. And I was fortunate enough to spend time speaking with Stanton Friedman as well. I've interviewed him before. We're friends. He was very complimentary when I saw him, and I got a fantastic blurb that I will carry with me forever in my tape recorder. Right? So it was a fun conversation, but in his presentation, he was discussing when they were building the hydrogen bomb and other things of that nature in his era of serious work, not counting the Majestic 12. But he said all it takes is cash. If you throw enough money at something, you can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they got those bombs put together. That's how they got the Apollo missions complete. Is you have, with the bombs, you're in a life and death struggle with someone else who it's a wartime, and you have to be able to win because horrible things are going to happen and are happening. So you have to have a method to win decisively.
Mm-hmm.
With the space race, the president said, get us there. And of course, McDonnell Douglas and all these other companies were like, okay, what do we have to do this with? Well, cash. So anything that you're trying to achieve, if you throw enough money at it, someone is going to figure it out, he said.
Mm-hmm.
And that was based on personal experience. I think
that's true. There's amazing minds out there for sure. And now with AI, I think it's going to happen even faster. I mean, AI is going to figure some of these problems out much quicker than we ever could have in the past.
Perhaps while creating some new ones.
Yes. Perhaps no need for us, right?
Right. Well, there's such a thing as making yourself obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
And unnecessary. And especially when things that are replacing you are more analytical than you are.
Mm.
That's scary.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you write about these things.
Well, I try. Dennis and I both are very interested in the AI topic and how that is impacting our world today. Perhaps the fact that it's part of the structure of our world. Like maybe we are already in an AI environment of some kind that was created by some advanced intelligence in the past, and now we're kind of to the point in our civilization where we're creating that. But it's really clear. I think one interesting thing about AI is that there are huge social changes that are going to come because of this technology, and probably sooner rather than later. And you don't hear our leaders really talking about these at all. We have a culture that's built on the idea that you work a job, you pay your bills, and that sort of thing. And we're going to reach a point, I think, pretty quickly. And I know we've had, warnings of this since the 80s with robots on, assembly lines and things like that. But I think we really are about to reach a point here where this AI could do most jobs that people could do. And the question becomes then, well, what do you do with all the people then? What do we do to fill our time in our lives, and what makes them meaningful? And if I don't have money anymore to pay my bills the way I've paid my bills in the past, how does that system work? So this has the opportunity to really upset the entire system, economic, political system that we have in place. And you don't hear anyone talking about, what that looks like or how we're going to, deal with that and address it.
Well, I'm going to interrupt because we've got our first break coming up, but when we come back, we'll talk about how that's going to make changes if you want to.
Absolutely.
I'm all about that. Yep, we'll be back. This is a little 3-minute break, and we will catch you on the flip side.
You're listening to WBHM, Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. You are back. We are back. Welcome to Paranormal Experience Radio. I'm Kat. My guest is Ray Davis, and we were discussing AI. And I heard a lot about that too. So, we have people in chat who are an individual who is very against AI. And I think a lot of people are because they're frightened of it. I know that Elon Musk said that we have maybe 3 years to stop this train before it gets out of control. So it's something that I was surprised that Elon Musk had that attitude. Because...
Yeah, he did. Oh, sorry.
Because he's all about development, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think he feels that way?
Well, I thought it was really telling. That was an interview he did with Joe Rogan about, 6 or 8 months ago. And he I think what he basically said is that he's been warning Silicon Valley for years that this was going to get out of control if we weren't careful, and that he feels like we're already there. Like we're already past the point of no return. And that, his solution, which I thought was kind of interesting, is we can't beat it, so let's just join it. So that kind of gets my heckles up a little bit skeptical of, it's kind of the Pied Piper leading us into the cloud. Ray Kurzweil with Google is saying by 2045, we'll all be uploaded into the cloud and that kind of thing. And I'm with your listener, the person who was doing in the chat about this. I think that there's a lot of potential to this. I mean, if you think about the problems like we were talking about before, like perhaps faster than light travel or medical cures, things like that, it's possible that we have all the data we need maybe to cure cancer, right? But maybe we just haven't got the human minds who have all those different pieces of information together in a way that could do that. Whereas AI might be able to take all that data and figure out solutions to things like that. So that's positive. But I think this idea where it gets out of control, and there's some crazy people. They don't think they're crazy. I think they're a little crazy, on YouTube talking about the fact that they will be so far beyond us, they will be like gods to us. And I'm with your listener. I think that's a very scary proposition. So, kind of where I come down on this a little bit is that as long as we can maintain human control of AI, I think it could be a great tool for us. But I think, there are definitely some risks here. And there are some people out there who don't seem to want to, kind of want to ignore those stop signs, those yield signs, and just push on through that. And so I'm glad at least that Elon Musk, someone of his stature, is at least bringing that topic up and sharing that with all of us, because I think it's important for us to have these discussions. And sadly, our policymakers, it was interesting last year when Mark Zuckerberg went before, the Senate, right, to testify about, some of the things that were going on in the last election, supposedly. And what occurred to me in watching that is that our senators don't even really understand Facebook. So to get into a situation where we're talking about AI and things that are that advanced, I don't think they get it. And so I think you don't hear our policymakers and our leaders talking about, the changes that these things could bring in the world, the threats that they could bring, or the benefits even. I don't think they really understand them. And so I think we're going to be in a situation where we're kind of relying on the people in Silicon Valley to do the right thing with these things. And I'm just not sure, because of profit motives and maybe even ideology, that in all cases they are, on the side of human. I think they kind of think that humans might be obsolete. And I think that's not really a road that I would like to see us go down.
I agree. One of the reasons that's particularly frightening is that the people who are engineering this are very confident that they can control it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is being made to evolve. It's like even just using your cell phone. It doesn't matter what kind of cell phone, but it is able to evolve to better understand your voice. And that's just a minor example. Siri is designed to evolve and better recognize your speech. And it's always on.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stop listening. So I find that, you push the button and you get an answer, but it's always listening. There's no way with the ads and Facebook that it's not. So that's a
well, yeah, we've even had examples of that. Alexa last year, there was a situation that was kind of made a little bit of news where a husband and wife were having a conversation in their house, and the husband owned a business, and one of his employees called their house and said, hey, apparently it was a small enough business that they were friends too, and he said, hey, I am listening to your conversation on my Alexa right now. And the wife was like, you are not. And so he started relaying again the conversation they had been having that was coming through on his Alexa. And of course, came out in the news, and Amazon was like, oh, we need to check into that. That shouldn't be happening, and they tried to do it. But, it's kind of funny. There was also a situation that came out where people were asking Alexa, do you work for the government? And she wouldn't answer the question. And so after about a week or two of stories coming about this, now if you ask her, she'll say, no, I work for Amazon. But if you ask her if Amazon works for the government, she's like, I don't have that information. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I had heard that Alexa was I don't know if it was through ad shares or what, but was putting information